All right, I don't really know what this video is going to be and how it's going to turn out. I just kind of been wanting to do this for a little bit because it's something that I think people don't know enough about or just need to know even more about. And that is WeddingPro, aka the knot and wedding wire, specifically for people who do wedding photography or are vendors for weddings and things like that. So this video is probably going to be a rant, information, advice, and regret in the sense of what have already happened. And I just want to help you guys and give you a little bit more insight into what my wife and I had to go through regarding WeddingPro and why you should absolutely avoid it. If you're already roped in, you already know where I'm going with this, but if you haven't or you've been thinking about it, stay away. And I'm about to give you a few reasons as to why. I'm going to break down exactly who they are, what they do, and then our experience on that, because it's just something I wouldn't want anyone else to go through. I just hate to see that. And there are better ways to go about your marketing, and not to say that I have the best advice, but from learning by failing, I think is the best teacher. So without further ado, let's get into this. Before we get into the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's been awesome to see you guys really engaging with all the other videos. The Remarkable Tablet product review has blown up. It's now at 7,000 views and just a lot of interaction. So that's really awesome to see. So thank you so much for that. Be sure to comment, especially on this video. I'm curious to see what people might think about WeddingPro and all that stuff, because it is something what I've been reading a lot about that people have very strong feelings about, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Let's start off with what exactly WeddingPro is. WeddingPro owns the knot and wedding wire. They're under the same umbrella. In fact, they are the exact same thing, but they kept them separate just because people already knew the two brands separately in that kind of way. So they didn't want to separate, or I guess they didn't want to combine the two into one entity and then confuse people or have people think that one was gone and one wasn't. Basically meaning it was cheaper not to make a new infrastructure for the two separate services, so they kept them separate, but under one umbrella called WeddingPro. You probably wouldn't see WeddingPro unless you are a vendor for something like a wedding photography or something like that, or catering or DJ or whatever that might be. But for those who are, we get a lot of ads in our inboxes saying, join. Let's talk about it. Let's get you signed up for 1 year, you know, or proven leads or whatever it might be. Well, they get you into a 1-year contract in the beginning. You pay an absurd amount of money every month for 12 months. Then they make you, which is part isn't bad, but they make you put all your photos on both sites, the knot and the wedding wire. Photos, videos, description of your business, who you are, your pricing, if you have contact information, all that stuff. Basically trying to build system engine optimization, otherwise known as SEO, for both sites. Key thing is, make sure you don't have the same cover photo for both sites. Keep them separate. They're always super keen about that. So setup is very easy. They get you through that whole thing and they make you go through it, and they give you a checklist and they give you kind of metrics of where you are in that setup process, and they're very helpful in the beginning month. But for us, we had that good experience in the beginning, but let me go over a little bit exactly how that happened. So this whole thing was my mistake. I definitely didn't do enough research. I kind of jumped into this opportunity because I was a little bit desperate about our business. I wanted to grow the business, but the business was kind of in a rough spot, and I felt like maybe going to a third-party vendor to help me market would be good. We got roped into paying $400 a month for 12 months that you couldn't cancel, with promised analytical data and counseling and help from an account manager that wouldn't actually be present for you when you started to realize 6 months in that no one was there to help you. But it was promised, so to speak. Then what would happen is you kind of select a tier from their list of tiers of how much you would pay and where your listing on their sites would be. So I don't exactly remember the details, but there's a top tier, middle tier, bottom tier, tier below that, whatever. We didn't get anything crazy. We got basically the bottom tier, and that was still $400 a month with an added discount. So it was probably around $500, $600 a month. With that, you're not guaranteed, of course, any leads or anything like that. It's just they put the listing up and you do the rest of the work with marketing, in the sense of what photos, your descriptions, are you replying to leads and those things. So that stuff makes sense. I understand you got to do some of the work, but they kind of do the heavy lifting in the sense of system engine optimization, which is a big thing nowadays. However, it's not as difficult to do, as I'll get later into, about alternatives to using the WeddingPro. All right, so what happened? What happened was that Johnny here definitely didn't do his research. He acted hastily and was desperate. Hastily and desperate, I guess, are the same thing, but we were having a dry spot and a dry moment in our business, and I was just trying to figure out things to do. What I should have done is just kept pushing with the Instagram, the Facebook, the website, and all those things, and continue to learn how to best optimize our work and how to engage with people online, and just kind of do research in that sense to know the know-how rather than pay $400 a month for, to be honest, nothing great. A lot of the leads that we would get from the WeddingPro were scammers or lowballers or just bots, you know, they weren't anything, and we would report it and nothing would happen. Or there would be times where we would actually have a conversation with somebody and we were doing a good job. Like, we wouldn't have changed anything different from the previous person, in the sense that the previous person might have booked us and then this person for some reason just ghosted us. Now, I understand that's not the WeddingPro's fault, but it sucks when you pay $400 a month or however much, and that's the result you're getting typically. You know, we would have phone calls with our couples, we would email, we would send them things as like onboarding stuff, or we would try to, but it just didn't seem to work. It didn't seem to, you know, produce a result that we thought was worth how much we were paying for the service. Then I got upset. It was February, and I was noting that we're getting 1 to 2 leads every month, or those not quality leads, or it was just, all this stuff was finally coming to a point where, like, I don't want to pay another 6 months or whatever to get nothing. And we were doing our job. We would post photos and re-upload photos and update all these things, a website, Instagram, though not, Wedding Wire, all this stuff would be updated and renewed, and we would try new stuff. We have a pricing catalog, we would design these things, all these things that you would think to do. So it wasn't like we were lazy about how we did our job, it was simply something wasn't working. So I complained to our account manager. I'm not gonna name his name here because there's no point, it doesn't really matter. Account manager. They don't respond to your emails, and then if you complain, they get scared, so then they call, and then they spend maybe 30 minutes with you trying to tell you that you're amazing and great, but really it's just shying from the fact that they're not doing their job and that their service isn't really what it says to be. So I have this phone call with my account manager, and he shows me, well, he doesn't even show me, in fact he said he was going to show me all the analytical parts on his side, but he never actually sent them over. Then he would say he would have a bi-weekly call with me, never happened, or a follow-up, never happened. So as I'm having this phone call with him, he goes on to say that, oh, we're doing great, we have so many leads, oh, this is how much money you made this past 6 months, and all this stuff. And to be fair, the past 6 months, I don't even know where he pulled the number from, because those past 6 months weren't from the knot, they were from previous. They were just things that were booked from years ago that happened to be that year. And then if it were any money from the knot, it was, I don't even think that was true, because I looked at my analytics and those things weren't correct to what his numbers were. Those are probably estimated numbers to what I should have gotten if they were to book. So he would manipulate the numbers and make it sound like he wasn't manipulating, and then he'd say, you're great, and then he would give me the advice. And if anyone tells you this, I mean, maybe this is just me and my naive brain, but I learned, is when someone says to you that your marketing budget should be 10% of whatever you make, maybe that's true, and maybe that's a good rule of thumb, but you decide that. Also, 10% isn't always $400 a month. It might be $30, it might be $100. It just depends if you book anything or you make any money off your services that month. So he would tell me, oh, you guys are doing great, you know, it should be 10% of 10% of whatever you make, which would be like $400. I'm like, but where? Like, yes, my packages might be $3,000 for an 8-hour coverage, and whatever 10% of that is being $400 or $300, like that's only if you book. Now, I was just too frustrated to even realize that fact, but he wouldn't let me cancel my contract. I have that 1-year contract. I understood that I signed it, and that's my fault. So I obviously ended up going on with it up until August 10th, which is our final day for the 1-year contract. So we go on, and the same thing, few leads, we're updating, we're working hard, and in fact, we actually got our leads primarily through Instagram and our website. We would always tell people, go through our website, because that is what you have. You own that. Maybe you don't want to be with a WeddingPro and the knot in the wire, but now you have your website. It's reliant upon you rather than someone else. Anyways, as those other 6 months have gone by, now comes July. July is a very important month for this journey, and why I'm very upset with the whole thing. That makes all the rest of the experience and their services and how much you pay for all this stuff, and nothing actually produces, and they may try to make you feel good about yourself, but really it doesn't mean anything. The reason July matters is because when I talked to my account manager in February, I had asked him in person, and I emailed him and then called a separate number for the WeddingPro that was their reach out number, that when is the latest I can cancel the renewing contract, because they just renew your contract. And they said 5 days up to your last day on your contract listed that you signed, which would be August 10th being the last day. I had messaged them July 9th saying, hey, I want to cancel. I received a reply from said account manager saying, yes, I recognize you want to do that, okay. And then he gave me a long message saying that he's very sad, I want an exit interview, and maybe we can work something out. And I said, sorry, I just want to cancel that. I'm not interested. We're not interested in working with you anymore. Thank you for this year, but we're going to move our separate ways. He never responded to that. That, of course, is curious. Then, July 17th, I message him again. I even call the separate dial number, for their offices to get a response about, hey, I'm going to cancel this. I want to make sure that I'm not going to be charged. I didn't get a response on the email, but the lady on the phone said, yep, you will not be charged. It's okay. Then August 10th comes around, and it's a fine, whatever day it was. I don't remember if it was a Monday, Tuesday. I actually think it was a Friday. It's a fine day, and I look on our account just to make sure to see all the invoices. All the invoices are laid there. It said $400, $400, $400 for the last 12 months. Okay, and the newest one is from the previous month, which would have been July. I then look at the contracts section of our account. It shows our contract that was current, which was the 12 months that I first signed up for, and then it said contract pending for another contract. I'm like, well, that's curious. Why would that be there? I go on to think nothing about it. I mean, I would like to think nothing about it, but I'm at work and I'm just kind of going throughout my day, and I do email my account manager about it. No response. Typical. Notice the trend is there's lack of communication and transparency. I then get a text from my wife saying, hey, we have $596 taken out from our bank account from WeddingPro. I'm like, what? $596? We both get on the phone, not knowing that we're both on the phone, and we call the WeddingPro and we try to figure this out. I'm not able to stay on the phone for much longer, but I'm furious, and I let the person know that I need to talk to my account manager. I need to get a hold of him. And she's like, okay, and it never happens. My wife, on the other hand, was able to have some success with that. She started to say things like, hey, I need to talk to your supervisor because this is not okay. This is a breach of contract. We have not been told anything about this. We have canceled in time multiple times, and I want to talk to our account manager. Having put that urgency was able to get us to talk to our account manager, and specifically to my wife. Another part of why I don't like this whole thing with the WeddingPro is because my account manager started to say things like, oh, I want to talk to your husband instead. All these different things that weren't really relevant to what the situation was. She then said that, well, you're going to talk to me and we're going to figure this out in the sense that we want the refund, we want a cancellation, and we're not working with you again. He proceeds then to say things like, oh, I'm sorry, but maybe we can work out a better price for you. I can knock it down, or this and that. And he was apologizing without actually apologizing. He was apologizing but still trying to sell me something, realizing that his opportunity to sell me anything has gone away. The fact that there was a lot of disrespect to my wife as a husband, I hate that, but also just as a person, that's just not okay. And then my wife then says, all right, well, you know what? We've been on the phone for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, and I just want to not be talking anymore because we have been completely taken out of the loop of communication of what is going on. Disrespected, opportunities are lost, no more. He's still trying not to give us the refund, and it's at that point where he finally budged and he said, fine, I'll give you the refund. Sorry about this, can we have an exit interview? And we're both agreeing to saying, no, we are not having an exit interview. This is the exit interview, and I hate to say it, but you didn't get the job. And right now I'm realizing I am pretty heated about that. It's just because anytime I believe that you have a renewed contract, especially for a service that you're obviously paying for, but a service like this, they should contact you, one, about an upcoming renewal of contract. Second, if you're a salesperson, you would want to call the person you're selling said service to maybe maximize on a sale to increase the price, or maybe just retain the customer. But he had lost all opportunity with that, dropping all connection, communication, and transparency with us throughout the entire 12 months, and then up to the cancellation, thinking that we wouldn't see it because it wasn't listed in an invoice. It was put in our bank sneakily, and it was just a contract pending, not actually showing a contract go through, but the contract was there, which I had never signed. Even if it's a renewal of contract, there still needs to be some kind of follow-up beforehand about said new contract. Now, hopefully this whole thing was comprehensive and easy to understand and follow. It's supposed to be quick, but just kind of give you our experience about what happened with the WeddingPro. But all I can say is, if you've been thinking about it, I would strongly hesitate to actually click the button on go and sign up with them. Hopefully our story can kind of give you a little more insight, or maybe turn you the other way. I would hate to say have someone go through the same thing. We know friends that have done the same thing and have the same story. I would say, as advice and maybe just a suggestion, is focus on your social media accounts, your website, the things that you can do, the things that you can control in the sense of budget. Yes, you might pay for Honeybook, or you might pay for Adobe, but those things are low cost relative to be able to put how much money goes into that marketing, or the percentage of resources going into whatever you might be advertising. All these things should be up to you. I made the mistake, and gladly now we are not part of that anymore, but we had made the mistake to learn. So hopefully now that you've seen us, meaning me mainly, mess up on that end, that you will now be able to avoid it, gain some wisdom, and go on your way with new creative ideas of how to market yourself better. I'm not in any way giving any financial advice or business, advice, thinking that I know what's going on or how to do business. If anything, I'm the last person, but all I know is that $400 a month for a service like that doesn't do anything, that totally disrespects you and doesn't communicate with you, is bad business. So I can't support them at all, and I hope that no one else has to go through what we did as well. Well, thank you so much for listening to my rant, or whatever, my story or my experience. I do appreciate it. Be sure to hit like on this video if you liked it. Comment down below if you had a similar experience, or you have something to add, or maybe even if you disagree. I would love to be involved in that conversation with you guys, and I would really appreciate if you loved the video to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.